I invite Anna Williams to come forward and speak. You wish to speak about a topic on the agenda. So the floor is yours, young lady.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. My name is Anna Williams and I live in Walla Walla, approximately 25 metres from the laneway we're discussing tonight. I understand that tonight you will be voting to amend the classification, currently community-owned land, from community to operational. I would ask that this is not actually voted on tonight by council for several reasons. Firstly, at council's meeting on the 19th of April, where this was first raised, it was subsequently resolved that council would be informed by community consultation through this process of reclassifying the portion of land from community to operational land. So considering there has been no community consultation at this point in time, the reclassification should not currently be voted on. Due process should be followed, i.e. the requirement which was voted and agreed upon should occur. And only then should you be voting to reclassify the land, and only if the Walla Walla community agrees with the reclassification. Secondly, we have an opportunity here to add some much needed infrastructure to Walla to improve the town by providing a pleasant track off the main road, and also to expand the sports complex so that new courts can be built with shaded areas nearby. As per the Greater Hume Community Infrastructure Plan that was implemented in May 2023, so this year, the plan mentions the following. The plan marks the beginning of our transformational journey to ensure that we continue to provide people with improved access to services, facilities, including sporting facilities, spaces and places, such as open spaces and plans for walking and cycling. The vision of the plan is, and again I quote, to deliver a network of community facilities, spaces and places to support the provision of services and community activities. If we expand the walkway that PJ and Sheds is currently pushing to acquire, in other words, keep the land as community land and plus expand it several more metres, it could become both a wildlife corridor and a walking track for residents and visitors, which would enhance the space rather than detract from it. It would also mean it provides a benefit to many rather than one business. Again, quoting from the Greater Hume Community Infrastructure Plan, our community infrastructure plan will be designed and managed to put the environment and people first. By keeping the trees and enhancing the area further with an established walking track and revegetation, we would again meet the community infrastructure plan vision sequence and principles. Furthermore, the walking track would be designed to continue curving around the sports complex, past the off-leash dog area, to the rear of the sports complex and around to the caravan park, linking to the exercise park, Anzac Park and community pool. We could get the money, as you guys know, there is some money in the kitty with regards to the solar farm. So this isn't just some kind of way out thing that could maybe occur in the next 10 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions to Anna?
Sorry, I have a question. You mentioned adding extra land onto that. Where do you think that was?
So there's currently in council, there's currently a subdivision 44, as you're probably aware, with 44 more allotments, and there's currently a proposal of 2 industrial allotments that they want to now put in. When it was first proposed, it was just going to be houses, and now there are 2 industrial allotments proposed, one of which PJ and Shed wants, which will expand their frontage onto the road by an extra 56 metres, which will then mean that they've got a 200-metre frontage on the main street. I mean, I'm proposing that they not have that land. I'm actually proposing that there's land behind them that is actually also community land and is part of the sports complex. So since you could actually reclassify that land in the future and do the community consultation for that, then PJ and Shed purchase that land, and then you could actually also come across with some of the money that PJ and Sheds has now given council by purchasing that land to also come across into the subdivision. what I have heard from people who I've spoken to is that what they would like are things like a playground. They want to expand the sports field. They want trees for the sports ground as well. And they want toilets so that they don't have to then upend all their children from one spot all the way to go to the toilets and then can bring them all the way back again to the current playground. So I'm trying to think of what can we do now with an opportunity of vacant land that is going to be developed to then enhance water infrastructure. And also to allow PJ sheds to expand, but expand in a way that would then benefit many rather than just one. And this is kind of what I'm proposing. So I have put a submission in to the subdivision, and this is another thing that's also come up with regards to the reclassification of the land. I'm just kind of looking at why are we reclassifying the land if we haven't yet got the community consultation begun, and I think that's important.
Thank you.
Sorry, long-winded response.
No further question?
Yeah, I've actually got one just regarding, you mentioned that you would like to see that portion of land retained so that that's access, you're not shrinking the size of the sporting precinct. But then at the same time, you said that there was sporting ground that PJ could purchase, which would potentially shrink that portion of publicly owned land even more.
So what it would mean is there's a little area at the back with some old tennis courts that are currently not being utilised, and they're all run down. So you could take that land and give that one to PJ and Sheds. Then you could actually behind that expand the sports ground across into where the proposal is for the subdivision. And that way you could also then have the front of that land could then go into retail shops, because currently there's no spot in Walla for retail shops, and I can go more into that later, which should be another time when I come and speak at the next time the proposal is discussed. And that way you could also then have a road. I have actually included a map in my subdivision, which I'm happy to provide to all the councillors later on tonight. And it would just then mean that you've got trucks going into PJ and Sheds one way and coming back out another, so they're not reversing in and out of the main street and they're not stopping traffic. It would also then mean that you've got the retail frontage for more shops and more areas such as doctors or accountants or whatever they want to do for the town. Then behind that, you would then have your sports complex that's now being expanded, and you could have a playground, you could have the tennis courts, and you could have amenities such as toilets, all in that one area, because they're currently proposing an area of over 100 metres across for light industrial. So instead of that, you could now have that for your infrastructure. And then the rest of it you could have currently, which they've already got proposed for houses.
No further questions? Thanks, Anna. Thanks very much. I'll declare the meeting for today open, and I'll ask Councillor Parker to lead us in prayer, please.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Heavenly Father, we thank you for all your blessings. We ask for your strength and guidance throughout this meeting and thereafter as we look to serve the residents of this shire. We ask for clear thinking and sincere hearts as we approach the business matters we will be discussing shortly. We ask for your blessings upon this meeting, each participant, and the work and the people they represent. Amen.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. I would like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Widgery people, and pay my respects to the elders both past and present. We've got any apologies or applications for leave of absence from councillors? If not, we'll move on to the confirmation of the minutes of the 21st of June.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor
Yes.
Will. Any corrections or comments? If not, I'll put the resolution. All in favour? Those against? Declare it carried all the way. Action reports from the minutes. Please state the number and the page. I did not find anything in it at all myself. If not, we'll move on to any disclosures of interest.
Mr. Chair, engineering item 2, page 13. I'd be very interested.
You filled out the appropriate bit of paper, thank you. I'd suggest you leave the council chamber when we discuss that issue. You can sit down the back or leave the room, whichever you prefer. As long as you're not sitting in a voting position, that's the concept. We'll move on to the first report on the environment and planning. You wish to make any comments, Mr. Planner?
Well, I think I will think it's Matt. Tonight is not about reclassifying the land. It's the process so far is that the proponent wrote to council and said, was there any objection to them preparing a planning proposal, which came at a bit of expense for them to do. Council elected, they have at no time said that one way or another in relation to reclassifying land, and the planning proposal has been done. The planning proposal has been done, and now the planning proposal has been reviewed by myself, and it is suitable. And so the next stage in the process.
It's here. It's hanging down.
Sorry. So the planning proposal has been prepared and it's been reviewed by myself, and it's suitable for council to request a gateway determination from the Department of Planning. And what that gateway determination does is allow council to go to public exhibition with the proposed planning proposal, and that public exhibition would involve every immediate neighbour getting a letter from council asking whether they wanted to comment, advertising of the proposal via council's website, and there will have to be a public hearing chaired by an independent person. And from all of that public submission process, a report will be prepared for council to then decide whether they want to reclassify the land. So tonight is to get that resolution for council, primarily to seek the gateway determination from the Department of Planning and Environment, and you can't proceed without a resolution of council requesting that gateway determination.
Well, I'm happy to move that recommendation, get the ball rolling, and then everyone get an opportunity to have a say.
Move councillor Hicks, second councillor Forrest. Comments? It's all part of the process. The process is going to be adhered to, and numbers 3 and 4 on that part of the recommendation outlines how the public exhibition will be carried out, and the opportunity will be given to everybody to have their say. That's just how the planning process works. Councillor Parker.
Oh, sorry, I was trying to fix screens.
Any further comments?
Mr. Chair, can I just ask a question? The presentation we heard this evening regarding a different approach, that won't be precluded when we go out to public exhibition. Is that correct?
It shouldn't be, definitely shouldn't be. The presentation includes two things, a basic objection to this process and a partly reconfiguration of the big subdivision that's proposed by the other Holbrook businessman. Waller businessman, my apologies. And, you know, all these processes depend on comments from people, whether they go ahead or not.
And just a further question. So this proposal, once it gets through, aside from the neighbouring properties and owners, will there be an invitation for the public to make a contribution to the discussion in the consultation?
Yes.
Right, thank you.
Further comments or questions?
Well, just a quick question. Do we have any idea
how soon that proposed subdivision might be started. Well, there is a number there on the planning. One of the maps, sorry, but I couldn't find it on the website.
So the subdivision is independent of this process for reclassifying. And so our normal procedures are being followed with the subdivision. So people are being notified adjacent to the subdivision, and they have the opportunity to put in a submission, and then that submission, or if submissions are received, it will come to council. We don't have delegation to approve development applications where their submission's been received. So, and then after it's approved, the proponent has 5 years to actually start a subdivision, physically start.
Yeah, thank you.
Further questions?
Sorry.
Councillor Parker?
Could I ask a question of Mr. Kane? So that land behind the existing building, is that a Crown land?
Look, I'm not certain about whether it's, I actually don't think it would be Crown land. I think it's possibly freehold land from the context of my report, but it's community land, if that's the question you're asking. And so if we were to consider selling that in lieu of this, we would still have to go through this same process to reclassify the land to operational land before it can be sold.
I'm just thinking from a business point of view, that's a much more substantial parcel of land than the land that they're asking to be reclassified. Just putting my business home. That's all.
They're also fairly good business people, the people who are asking. Further questions? Right reply, councillor Hicks.
No, what I think is need to get the ball rolling, then as I said, everybody will have their opportunity to put their piece of mind in, their point of view. And that really is the way that things need to go. So let's get it moving.
Right, I'll put the resolution, parts 1 to 4. All those in favour, those against, never carried all the way. We move on to governance, policy development, water and wastewater.
Move that recommendation, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
Been moved by councillor Wilton, seconded by councillor O'Neill. Any comments? If not, I'll put the resolution. Those in favour, those against, declare it carried all the way. The corporate and community services, signing of the contracts for the lease to occupy Unit 6, Carla Court.
Move the recommendation.
Move councillor O'Neill, seconded councillor Wilton.
Councillor O'Neill and councillor Parker.
Sorry.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, what is the price of that license to occupy, please? Have we moved off the original price?
Yes, we moved them up slightly a couple of years ago, 193,000 now. Yeah.
Okay, it's a pretty good deal.
Yes, yeah.
Plus they have to pay their monthly
Monthly fees,
fee and so on to cover the cost for the maintenance of
yeah.
the surrounds and so on, yeah.
Yeah.
But there is a big difference between Albury City prices and the country, wherever you go in New South Wales, generally. Maybe we're too low, I don't know. But, yeah. Right, I'll put the resolution, those in favour, those against, carried all the way. Engineering, the proposed LRCIP around 3 gravel road machine.
Yeah, I'll move that recommendation.
Moved by
I'll
councillor
second that.
Linda, second councillor Hicks. Any comments? If not, all in favour, those against, declare it carried. Now the tender for the Melford Street drainage.
I'll move the recommendation. I'm happy to second it.
Been moved by councillor Shield, is that right?
Councillor Shield and councillor.
Questions, comments?
No, I think seeing Hutchins and Civil are in the area, I think they're already well underway with what they're doing, and it makes sense. And their price has come in at a good price, probably because they are here already working, and then it would just continue on their position, and it's just a shame, our local business hasn't, come in a bit closer to that.
Well, I'll make one comment that the difference between the lowest price and the top price is almost double. And I'm publicly prepared to admit to say this. It's obviously the contractors see government bodies, and this is what's happened in Victoria, all over Victoria, as a milking cow. They up the price.
It's actually nearly 4 times as much, the bottom to the top.
Yeah. So somehow or other, we've got to get the message out there that we're prepared to pay a fair price, but we want a fair deal. And I think we should be very vocal as a council saying that. Any further comments? If not, I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour, those against, declare it carried. The next one is the development proposal, road names, Holbrook.
Happy to move, Mr. Mayor.
Move councillor Parker,
Seconded, Mr. Mayor.
councillor Wilton.
Can I just ask some questions on the names?
Yes,
How did they become how were they derived? And it is suggested that first names aren't a good idea, apparently, in the big scheme of things. So where did those wonderful names come from?
well, they came from I read the business paper, they came from the developers. And just because the geographical name, people say that first names are not suitable, that's their business, and we've got a business too, and we're suggesting they have these names.
That's fine, I'm just asking.
I'm just answering.
No.
So no further comments. I'll put the resolution. Those in favour, those against, declare it carried. We move on to the B section.
I'll move parts B, C and D, please, as a block.
Second that.
You're in a hurry. You're in a hurry, councillor Hicks. Moved by councillor Hicks, seconded by councillor Wilton.
Can I ask a question, please?
You can, ma'am.
To Mr. Hart, the Northern Territory Treasury. That's the lowest interest rate we've got. Are we getting rid of it soon? Yeah, oh no, it's not till 2025 and 2026.
Because we can't. We're locked in the bonds.
Depressing.
I'll respond, Mr. Mayor. At the time, there were 3 times what we could get elsewhere. And in hindsight, yes, probably not a good decision, but at the time when everyone was saying interest rates are going to be low or historically low and stay historically low, they were a pretty good deal. But we all know what's happened since then.
Well, when you consider we get 5.5, can you be impacted? Anyway, sorry, Ms. Hart. Just the numbers of questions.
Any questions on the B, C and D? In the engineering, Mr. Engineer, if my mind's correct in that we've got a lot of money still for potholes. And there's potholes everywhere.
And the road's falling apart everywhere, especially in
In regard to that, I'm happy to respond to you, Mr. Mayor. We have got out and we've selected a number of contractors to do major heavy patching, but because everyone knows it's quite very damp at the moment, so we're on hold to probably mid next month that the contractors will come back into a major lot of heavy patching. But which we've already awarded, but obviously we have to get appropriate conditions. Obviously, this is the worst time of the year to be doing patching because it's so damp, and the problem is you get no sunlight. Yet there's problems with getting areas to dry after put seals on and things like that. So our contractor's ready to come in, but it'll be another month or so. So we'll be just doing minor patching at this stage, but we've got already a lot of it tendered out to do major heavy patching in the coming months.
Does that mean the coach road will be fixed up?
Coach Road is is part of our natural disaster claim, and it's still being assessed at this stage. So we've still got one natural disaster claim from last year. We're waiting for final approval of the works, and it's part of that. So again, natural disaster claims take a while to get approved, and hopefully that'll be within the next month, and then we can start to do work on Coach Road.
Well, we should put a motion to the state conference about that process. It's far too slow. Anybody out of kindergarten could drive down Coach Road and see it needs to be fixed. And,
Plenty of traffic on
yeah, so I presume Glen Ellen Road towards the Walla Road's the same process.
Yeah, right near the last kilometre near Walla Road is also part of that process.
We hope and pray that one day the process will work and we'll get the work done. Further questions or comments?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I've got one. Is it possible that we could actually issue a media release, just with what Mr. Blackyear's just said, so that instead of having hundreds of phone calls, potentially, why isn't my road getting fixed and blah, 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 that we've actually released a statement, this is the reason why it hasn't, there's been contracts awarded, so on, and we're aiming that weather permitting, it'll happen in the middle of next month onwards.
We can endeavour to put something out there.
Yes,
Just
through you,
talk to
Mr.
the
Mayor.
gentleman.
Actually, we're having exactly this conversation a day or two ago about preparing a report not only for council but for community for a bit of an update on our projects. So we certainly can do that, including progress on Genetic Road and all the other roads that we're trying to do work on. So we can put something out more immediate and then provide a report to council that would be a public document. Absolutely.
Further questions or comments on the B, C or D items?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to look up library interests, and it's going along quite well. I'm quite impressed with the Henty online resources, ebooks and the audios. The numbers are up. Have we looked at altering the hours they are open? That's one comment. And with the engineering, with the flood, I know it's not got flood monies in there, but the McInnes Road in Holbrook, it's got a fair bit of water line in front of all those homes that live along there. Is that swale drain somewhere? I couldn't find it on our list. Is that somewhere soon that it might be something more than just a dent in the surface?
As part of the whole flood levy development, that would attend to a lot of the water that is sitting there, because a lot of the water does flow across from the paddock side to the south. Obviously with the levy in place, that would prevent a lot of that water getting there. But the drainage, it's very difficult down there because it's very flat, and this time of year with nothing drying out, it's hard to get it away. But the levy will help. I'm not saying it'll solve everything, but I think until we get that in place, there's no point trying to attempt to do anything down there at this stage. That's the other thing.
It just doesn't appear to be going anywhere, and whether there was just a bit more of a drain we could make, not concrete,
Yeah,
just a bit more of a swale drain.
yeah. To put a big drain, it is quite flat for over a kilometre down there. You'd have to make it quite deep, and then where do you take it to? You've got to take the next step, then you're taking it across the highway, then you have to take it further. So there's a lot more work, but I believe that levy development, once it's in place, will prevent a lot of that water. Plus, then you can look at developing that street a bit better than what it is at the moment.
Thank you.
Just on that, can I ask, is there any news on the awarding of the contract for that work?
No, at the moment it's going through its REF approvals and all that. What we've currently got Public Works working on the project. I had a meeting with them today. Like I said, the tender for the works will probably occur, hopefully before Christmas, for works for next year, because the works are planned to be done in 2024 over the next 12 months in that regard. There's probably about 9 months worth of work, but there's all the approvals are still got to be got yet, which they haven't got. We've got money, we've got some plans, but the approvals, and we're going through that at this stage. So the plan is to have tenders out and tenders let by Christmas, hopefully, and then work will start in the new year.
No, it'll be 14 years.
So we've got the money, we've actually got the money.
We don't have the money.
Yeah.
The state government have the money that's been given to them from the federal government under certain restrictions. And there are certain things that have got to be processed through in certain ways. And that is why we had to appoint another consultant, the Public Works, to run this project for us.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll just respond to the question about the Henty Library. Yes, there's work being undertaken now. They're conducting a survey of users and residents in Henty to determine the interest in morning openings or when the preferred times are. So once we've got the results of that, and we can determine what the general consensus of the community is, and we'll bring a report back around opening hours.
Thank you. There has been some concerns that it isn't open very much at all, and with the cutbacks that were we made earlier, I was thinking that more it went right across the Shire, but it was Henty was hit the hardest, and it is a busy month. Like Saturday mornings went across the board, but all the others are open from is it 9 or 9:30 till 5, and Henty's is not open Mondays, and it's open for 3 afternoons a week, and it is
But that's correct. But they're only like you take Holbrook for example. Holbrook Library is only open from 8:30 to 5 days a week now, because we've moved the customer service point up there. It wasn't open for those hours in the past. That's only occurred since we moved the customer.
the other office.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Henty's is like a customer service as well.
Yes, it is. Yes, but the council, excluding the library component, the council service point at Henty is probably our quietest. But on the library side, it's one of the busiest. So we need to get that mix, that balance right.
Thank you.
Further comments or questions on the B, C and D items? If not, I'll put them, the resolution, all in favour, those against, declare it carried. Before we close tonight, Councillor Wilt has asked me, he wishes to make a few comments about a former mayor, I think, of Holbrook, so the floor is yours, Councillor.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to report that a former councillor and mayor of Holbrook Shire, Gordon McKissick, passed away on the 2nd of July 2023. I'm looking it up. He was 88 years of age. He represented the C riding from 1980 to 1983 and was the Shire president from 1982 to 83. Now, I've asked a number of people across the town, as I did not know this gentleman, but nearly everybody told me almost the identical story about this man. And by all accounts, he was a go-get person who wanted to make things happen. Now, you can't get that from council these days, can you? He had a great, without a lot of difficulty, he had a great sense of humour, and he was an optimist. He was a very adventurous man who celebrated and enjoyed life, and he experienced and enjoyed new challenges and making a positive difference to everyone he met. He was a builder, house builder, and he built 2 motels in Holbrook, the Glendale Motel, which he named after his sons Glenn and Dale. Nearly everybody I asked told me that. He also built the Jolly Swagman, which was opposite the Glendale, but he was, by all accounts, a very well thought of gentleman. So it's nice to be able to make some positive comments about the former councillor and former Shire president, and I extend my condolences to his family. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wilton. That concludes tonight's meeting. Thank you for your attendance.